Welcome to Friday in the Midwest. Oh my God, this is awesome. Today is a really good day. And normally whenever I do these live sessions, I have lights on in the house. And actually I've been out, I just got back. And I've been outside most of the day. It's just been awesome here in the Midwest. And it's been a real departure from last week because this whole week it's been cloudy and just kind of nasty and just rainy and just kind of, and it affects me. I don't know if you guys have the same feeling, but the thing is, I love the change of the seasons. So I've always been a big fan of the change of the seasons. Hey guys, good to see you guys here. Thanks for hanging out with me today. We're gonna have some fun and we'll go over some stuff. But yeah, I noticed young in life that the seasons definitely, like, there's these shifts, these changes, and later on in life I found out about what is it, the kind of depression like the people get during the wintertime, and whenever there's just not much sunlight in their lives. And so I try to do everything I can to put sunshine in my life, whether it's through Bon Jovi or some Zeppelin or just cheesy movies, or just anything I can to put sunshine in my life. But sometimes you really need real sunshine. Sometimes the real sunshine is exactly what you need. And so all week I've been missing out on sunshine. I've been going outside, trying to get as much of that natural in my life as possible, but all week it's been nasty. And so today I wake up kind of expecting another nasty day. I don't check the weather like I should. Especially since I haven't been doing workshops, like physical workshops. We're going to talk about workshops here today, and I may actually ask for some of your advice. I've been thinking about some different workshops to put on virtually. So maybe it's what, and of course, not to get off the topic, but I'm framing. It's really important. Self-talk and framing, right, is always a good thing. So I'm framing it as, hey, guess what? Now I get to do a worldwide tour from the internet. So there's good things that are going to come from it. But yeah, since I haven't been doing workshops, I really haven't checked the weather that much. And I just kind of wake up, I look outside. Okay, that's what it's going to do today. Fine, I will adhere to that. And so whenever I got up this morning, I went out, took the dog out, and my first cold exposure of the day was a beautiful. It had to be hovering just over freezing this morning when I got up, just over freezing. I went outside and it's nice and dark. Now time changes Sunday here, so we're going to, I guess, fall back an hour. But I went outside, and the place I live, I can pretty much go outside in my underwear and nobody's going to see me. As long as it's dark outside, I feel pretty comfortable with it. I didn't go out in my underwear today. But it was just like sweatpants. So it was just my sweatpants. And I took the dog out and I was like, oh, hello, my friend. And I look up and I see stars, and I'm like, okay, all right, it's going to be a good day. So today has been just awesome. So today also, my cold exposure. So my cold exposure was kind of different today. And a lot of us I know are thinking about, okay, it's about to be game time. And now is the time, guys. Even people who have done regular cold exposure all summer long, maybe you're years deep into it. I don't even, how many years have I been doing this? I don't know. Let's see. I started cold exposure 2014, like late 2014, early 2015. So I'm years deep. It's part of my life. It's part of who I am now. It's just and it's just part of what I do. And of course, I got so inspired and fell in love with it so much. I trained people, wrote an ebook about it, all these things. So, but every year it's like, okay, there's a time when I'm like, okay, here it comes. How am I going to prep for it? And yeah, you can do ice baths every day all summer long, but But whenever it's cold outside, there's all sorts of different possibilities. You got all these cool little things. Not to mention, you do have to think about in the summertime is a great time to start ice bathing, because if you're ice bathing in the summertime, then you get out and and Brandon, we trained together. And I think it was kind of like August. So it was sort of, I don't remember, was it cold or was it warm whenever we trained? But most of the time in the summertime, you get out and it's yes, Dan. Yes. I'm not a pervert. I promise. Dan's saying in my underwear is kind of a perverted thing. It's not perverted. It's just carefree, man. It's not perverted. I'm not trying to put on a show. I'm just trying to go out. Okay. It was good and hot. Okay. So Brandon says it was July 27th. Yeah. So it was July. Yeah. That's what I thought. It was pretty hot outside. So you get out when you get out of an ice bath in the summertime, or any extreme cold, you walk out of the ice, you walk out of the cold, and immediately the ambient air is helping you to warm up, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? So don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. But it was either June or July. I thought it was summertime. I'll have to take a look sometime, Brandon. But anyway, it's warm, and it's totally fine to let the warm air warm you. I was really hoping in March, and I had some things planned for earlier this spring, whenever it's still it's technically winter still. Those natural cold exposures, when you get into a lake and you come out of a lake or things like that, I always try to position people in the sunshine, because it's okay to let the ambient air help warm you a little bit. It's not like you want to jump into a hot tub at that point, but you may want to, but it's not a good idea to do that. But now there's a whole new thing coming for you. Okay. Even like out in my garage where I have my deep freeze, where I do my ice baths pretty regularly, which I've got to talk to you guys about that too. So much to talk about. Anyway, but now when I go out to my garage, it's not as hot in there. When I get out of the ice, it's lower than what room temperature would be. So I mean, we're talking in Fahrenheit. We're talking like low 60s in Celsius. It's in the teens. And guys and people, my Celsius friends, I thank you for dealing with my it's not high on my list to learn Celsius, but I really should. But anyway, I should also learn Spanish. My wife is Puerto Rican and speaks fluent Spanish. My in-laws are all Spanish speaking, and I'm still un poco español. Sometimes I don't know. It's shameful, really. But anyway, the point is, I'm getting out of the ice and it's not warm anymore, because in the summertime, man, it was almost like getting out of the ice straight into a sauna in the garage. And so it's changing, and you're going to notice that sort of thing. So today's cold exposure, I'm not doing an ice bath today. It was right at 38 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius.
38 degrees Fahrenheit is equal to 3.333 degrees Celsius.
So it was 3.33 degrees Celsius outside. So it was a nice, brisk morning, very nice, brisk morning. And there was some breeze. And I was like, okay, this is perfect training weather to get me ready for ice walking and snow walking. If you want to be a snow walker, my advice to you is to train as much as you can before there's snow on the ground. So I always walk around barefoot everywhere I go. And I feel like that is healthy for lots of reasons. I'm not just doing it so I can walk barefoot in the snow, but I just do. I'm a barefoot guy. I'm not, people talk about me, you're a barefoot hippie and all these things. I guess I really wouldn't identify as a hippie. So, but I don't know. I'm just maybe maybe I'm just a monster, I'm an animal. Hence the Halloween edition. But yeah, I've always been a barefoot kid. Whenever I was growing up, I'm a barefoot kind of guy right now. Always barefoot. Sometimes, it's sometimes more than others, but I'm just always looking to go barefoot outside. So today I walked outside by the river. I did about a mile back and forth. It was super cold and it was great. It was great. I mean, it felt really good. I had my headphones on, so I had my jams. And so I just enjoyed myself. It was a beautiful day, got a great cold exposure, and got some barefoot time, just walking around. It was really awesome. So I'm just really, really happy to have had that. And then later on, I took a shower. I did the barefoot walking. Today was my cardio day. Okay. So I, like many bros, I am not a big fan of cardio. I know I need to do it because my heart is a very important muscle, right? But it's boring to me. I'm not, and I don't really I'm not really into playing sports and stuff like that. So what I do a lot of times is I do row machine, or I'll do elliptical, or I will just walk, or I will do something that puts me in a pretty good aerobic state, and then call and try to stay there, try to keep my heart rate up for maybe an hour, just really try to keep that adaptation going. So it was like, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to do some cold training and some cardio at the same time and have a great time doing it. I was at the river, so yes, some people were looking at me funny. That's the thing. How do you guys plan on dealing with the gawkers? I've done a video about that, how to deal with gawkers. Personally, like, a lot of people are going to say you're doing it to show off. I think most people, I remember whenever I was doing some outdoor cold exposure with my jiu-jitsu coach, kind of trying to get him into cold exposure. He's been taking cold showers for a while now. And people would kind of drive by, and one smart ass, he drove by. Oh, you guys are real tough. I was like, that's not what we're trying to do here, man. So chill. But gawkers are a thing, man, and that's something to think about, because you're going to have it. It breaks concentration if you let it, and I don't know. It's one of those things where there are a lot of us cold trainers, people who do it just to kind of show off. But a lot of other cold trainers, most of us, I think, at least myself, speaking for myself, are doing it just, hey, I want to feel good. There is a certain degree of, I want to prove to myself, I want to test myself. There is that, but it's not to show off to other people. It really is this whole, I'm really testing myself. I'm practicing making a difficult decision. Brandon says it feels great. Exactly. It does feel great. So, I mean, I think that's what you're talking about. There's other comments here. I'm going to have to answer some questions. We got a lot of stuff here today. Hey, James Larcy, thanks for being here. I'm going to go back up to the top. And I guess we'll start answering questions here before too long, but I almost didn't make it. To my live today. I was enjoying the outdoors. The trees are just absolutely gorgeous. I always talk about how the trees bloom. My in-laws, they live in Florida, so they don't get the seasons. It's a little cooler during the winter time, and it's much hotter. I mean, insanely hot during the summertime. But whenever they come up for the holidays, occasionally, and they very rarely do. But I remember one time they came up, and some of the my older in-laws, they just couldn't believe how beautiful this place is in the Midwest during the fall. It's just gorgeous. And so when the sun is shining, I am smiling, and the rain it's been just awful, but now things are looking much better. So this is not cranberry juice. I'm drinking some kombucha, trying to give myself a little bit of probiotics here. Okay. So anyway, so that's where I am right now, man. This is just an awesome day, awesome week. Things are going really well. One of the things that I guess I want to say, I'm getting a ton of emails, tons and tons of emails. And one of the things I try to do, I try to write down and I try to make note of some of the most common questions. And actually, these are feeding me great ideas for actual like regular videos, like a weekly video. This week's video, I'm going to hopefully be able to finish this afternoon or this evening. I've been a little late because I've been working on the treat for you guys. So I have an episode that I was hoping to have done by Halloween that I think you're going to get a kick out of. And I know it was a lot of fun making it. But I just filmed it yesterday. It needs a lot of editing because I'm reviewing a particular, we'll call it a breathing technique, a breathing style. And I have about an hour worth of footage of my review. And I'm trying not to make it into an hour-long thing, but I kind of feel like to really review this program, I need to make it into an hour-long thing. So I'm trying to maybe edit it into something smaller so that it's not so long. I know not everybody likes to watch for an hour. You guys are awesome though, because you hang out with me on Fridays. So oftentimes I try to go for an hour. Let's see. I'm trying to find a list of some of the questions that I've already said I was going to try to answer. And again, if for some reason, if you email me and I say, hey, tune in to my live and I'll answer it there, please just remind me on the side, whichever side of the screen, it's on this side of my screen. Just go ahead and remind me of your question and that'll help me so that I can try to help you out. And of course, if we don't make it to your question today, then hey, we'll have it. We'll try to do it next week. Let's see here. So this one actually, so the first question I'm going to talk about, and then I'll take a look at some of the stuff over here. And of course, feel free, just to add your questions here. But the very first question I want to talk about is it's a cold training question that I get a lot, especially this time of year. I think it's because a lot of times people don't really want to cold train, or they just don't think about cold training in the summer months. And I don't blame you. There's a lot of things you could do other than cold training. And a lot of times people start taking their cold showers at this time of year, which isn't the worst idea in the world. My shower is actually starting to get colder, which is awesome. I actually enjoy taking a cold shower right at this time in my life. I'm enjoying cold showering more than ice bathing. Isn't that weird? I never thought I would ever say that because I've always enjoyed ice bathing more than cold showering. But right now, I don't know, maybe it's because I've just been doing the ice baths all summer. It's kind of a nice change of pace to take a kind of a long cold shower, kind of wash myself in the process. And I don't know, maybe it's just that I have my deep freeze in my garage and it's not, I don't know, there's really not very much ambiance in my garage. You got my car there, my wife's car, and just all the other junk that you put in a garage. And then I'm trying to have this peaceful experience. Maybe I need to figure something else out. During the wintertime, I do try to go to natural places, or I try to get my my feeding trough out to try to vary, kind of mix it up a little bit. But anyway, I got a question here. It's from many people, or else I would say your names. But it essentially is this: Jesse, how many cold showers should I take a day? So this is one of those where I guess I could make a weekly video about it, but I figured I'd answer it here and kind of discuss it a little bit. And if you have questions about that, we can talk about it. But when it comes to, and if you've purchased my ebook, I go into a lot of this in depth. So, yeah, shameless plug, whatever, take a look. I don't know if I have the links in the description yet, but if you're watching this afterwards, I always put the links in the description. My ebook on cold training essentially is just on cold training, and it's just basically every aspect of cold training that I've done, and then also some things that I personally don't have experience with. So I did an interview with Kath Pendleton, who I'm going to have on my podcast soon. I've got to set that up soon. Man, there's so many things to do. But basically, when it comes to how many cold showers should I take in a day, or I guess the broader question of how many cold exposures should I have taken a day, you really want to think about it like this. What is the cold? First of all, why are you wanting to do this? What's the goal here? Some of us want to take more than one cold exposure in a day because we just really like it and it feels good and it's something that we want to do. A lot of people are reaching out to me with this question because of what I believe is a very Western point of view. We want the minimum sufficient dose. We want to make sure we get enough in a day so that we see benefits. And oftentimes we look at cold the wrong way. We look at all things the wrong way, right? First of all, we take a look at humans and we say, humans, this is what a human is. We put it in a box and we say that that if you're a human, this is what cold will do to you. This is it. Or this is what, vitamin, you name it, or this medicine or any of these things. Take this and this will happen. And we are such a diverse species where there's so much biodiversity that we can't really say that for sure. Yes, we can play to the averages and say for the vast majority of people, and that's what allows me to do things like write my books. I can say for the vast majority of people, this does this and this does that. And for the vast majority of people, this is going to work. But at the end of the day, it does sometimes mean that we have to kind of figure things out on our own. And so it's one of those things where I can't really say this is how many cold showers you should take in a day, but I can say this. Ultimately, the practice of cold exposure for our health is based off of the premise of eustress or hormesis. You might have heard of hormesis. So hormesis is basically where you put a certain amount of a stressor or a strain on your body, and it actually weakens your body for a little bit of time. Like or it causes enough stress to break something down or to reduce its effectiveness. One of the first things they studied actually was a certain kind of poison, and things like things that in high doses will kill you because you get a high enough dose, it kills you. But if you get small doses, it's like, why is it that these people are living longer, they're healthier, they're resilient to this or that? So this is something, of course, we see. I think the best example is in exercise, right? So for instance, if you are a person who goes to the gym, right? Today was a cardio day for me, but most days I'll do some kind of resistance training. And the whole point of that is to stress the muscle to the point where it breaks down enough that your body overcompensates, becomes stronger as a result. And so to do that, you're actually weakening the muscle momentarily. And the whole point is you're weakening it, and the body is going to say, this moron keeps on doing this thing, and he doesn't understand I'm not strong enough for this. So I'm going to have to become stronger. And so that's why you get bigger muscles. That's why you become stronger. That's why your respiratory system improves, because after certain stressors, that's why your cardiovascular system improves after you do cardiovascular workouts and things like that. So over time, with enough stressors at the right levels, you'll receive improvements. So that is really, in essence, that's the fundamentals of behind cold training too. So cold training, while there are other things that we get from exercise and all these, like for instance, my wife is an ultra marathon runner, and while there's all sorts of health benefits, she gets enormous amount of psychological benefits. She feels like it's her time of meditation, right? So I don't want to glaze over the psychological benefits of all of these things, specific, in this case, cold exposure. I don't want to glaze over that because these things are really important. And this is primarily the reason why I do it so much. But, if you're looking for the health benefits, some of the health benefits that you get over time, and this is primarily when we're talking about like the immune system boosting of cold exposure training, then in that case, you want to stress it enough, but not too much. And you want to come back repeatedly, and you want to give yourself enough time between sessions that your body can overcompensate and become stronger. So the most common thing that I see among early cold exposure or cold trainers is that they're like, cold is good. Therefore, the more cold I get, the better I should feel, right? And hey, there's nothing. I'm not judging. I'm an American, right? That is such a Westerner idea, right? If a little's good, a lot's better, and it's not the case. And you see this like when I go to the gym and I'm lifting weights. I work out at my university's gym, right? So here I am. I've been weight training for 10 years. And so I've been able to build a certain degree of muscle and certain degree of strength. And I understand technique and I understand form. And I've learned all of these things the hard way, by the way. I'm not saying that I'm somehow gifted. I became a personal trainer. I became a certified personal trainer just because I kept injuring myself. And I was like, okay, I need to know what's going on here. But you'll see a lot of kids, and they look at maybe a more muscular person, and they feel like, hey, I need to lift more weights. I need to lift more weight, and I need to pretty much live in the gym. And that's the worst advice I could give to them. It's not that. You need to definitely stress yourself in the right ways, using the correct form, safety, all those things. Safety is so important. When you have an injury, you can't come back. And the same thing happens with cold. But anyway, what would be better is, okay, have a little humility and say, I'm not doing this for anybody else. I'm doing this for myself. And that's the funny thing in the gym, right? Half the guys there are trying to get muscly to impress the girls. And then when they come in and they look at all the guys, it's like they're trying to impress the dudes. I don't understand it. But the thing is, what we try to do with cold exposure is we try to stress ourselves to the degree that we're not harming ourselves. Okay. And so that's why a good early training schedule, like the one I have in my book, is so helpful. And then you've got, over time, you add a little bit more and add a little bit more until you don't really want to mess with it anymore. And you're going to find a happy medium. There will always come a time whenever you just can't stay in the ice any longer. Eventually, if you stay in the ice long enough, it will kill you. Eventually, if you find a big enough weight and try to lift it, right, or try to get, I guess, underneath it, it will smash you, right? So there will always be some kind of a limit to your physiology. What the goal here is we're trying not to break that limit. We're trying to stay within that. We're getting outside of our comfort zone into a training zone, right? So get outside your comfort zone. And what happens is, if you get outside your comfort zone without overdoing it, that comfort zone expands, right? And then you have to push yourself a little bit more to get outside that comfort zone, and just always use that as a barometer. Am I comfortable? No. Okay, I probably am doing it right. Am I in pain? Am I miserable? Am I, my teeth chattering? Yeah. Okay, I've overdone it. And if you overdo it, you can have a lot of problems. One of the biggest problems that you're going to see, and I've seen it so many times, not only in myself, but a lot of other people, is a person will have great success, especially early on. We all do. All of us, and this is kind of a thing with the body, early gains, regardless of what you're doing, are generally pretty fast. For instance, if you are a sprinter, you're going to see much faster progression in your sprints early on rather than 2 or 3 years down the road. Like right now, I don't see any significant change in my cold tolerance. It's always something very, very psychological for me. Or And I really don't want, and I'm really not interested in trying to go for a record. So I'm very comfortable with where I am. So coming back to the question, and the reason why I wanted to kind of go on and on and on about this is to kind of give some perspective to the answer. How many times a day should I have a cold exposure? Is really, I would just say one, and maybe not even one. You can take days off too. It all comes down to your own personal biology, because you're an individual. You're not me. You're not everybody else. You are special. You are an individual. And you got to listen to that you got to listen to yourself and say, okay, I've pushed myself outside my comfort zone. I've experimented a little bit. Cool. Okay, now I'm going to get out. I'm going to recover, and I'm going to make sure I fully recover before I go back in. I'm not going to worry about what Jesse has to say about, man, you better get back in the ice. I'm not going to go on some message board and everybody's bragging about, oh, I spent 20 minutes in an ice bath, and then feel bad about myself. I wish I could say that the biohacking world, the breathwork world, or the cold exposure world, or, Soma, Wim Hof method, all these different practices that are out there. I wish I could say that they don't have people with huge egos in them, but I can't say that. We all have egos, and it's okay to have a little self-respect. It's just a matter of taming that ego to say, okay, why am I here? Am I here to impress people on the internet? Am I here to impress people other people who are trying to train this way? And if that's the case, it's okay to admit that to yourself. I'm not here to judge, right? I'm not going to say, don't you be like that. If that is your goal, then that's fine. David Blaine, right? He impresses us with all of his feats of wonder and skill and all these things, and that's fine. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's people that they have incredible skills and they wow us, and we are wowed, and it's so cool. Tony Hawk, right? I mean, just incredible skill, and part of the whole point of that skill is to impress people who are watching. If that's your goal, well, then you need to keep that in mind and understand that that's going to dictate your training. For me and for my clients, I don't train people that are wanting to go. If that's what you want to do, awesome. I respect it and I'll cheer you on. I'm just not going to train you because that's not the goal that I have, and I assume it's not the goal that you guys have. So that is approximately how many cold exposures do I do a day? I'll just tell you that. Today I did 2, but I didn't do 2 extreme cold exposures. I did my couple miles walking barefoot in really cold temperatures. Was not in my underwear, by the way, so don't call me names. But I did that one as my primary cold exposure, and then I did take a shower later, and I just felt like taking a cold shower. So it wasn't like extremely cold. It wasn't like, as the months go on, I'm eventually going to get under that cold shower, and if it hits me right here, I'll get a headache. It wasn't like that. So it wasn't 2 extremes, but there'll be a lot of days that I don't do a cold exposure at all. And that's because I want to make sure that I'm giving myself enough time to recover from my previous cold exposure. If you're just taking cold showers every day, a couple minutes a day, you don't really need to take days off unless you're really early on in your practice. Then take a day off or something. Don't do it, but never think about this as something that you have to feel super regimented in. I understand that we want to be regimented in it, and because we want to see progress and we want to see results, but feel it's your freedom. This is you. You're doing something that most people would never even try. Most people probably laugh whenever you say you took a cold shower. I know most people still laugh whenever I tell them, well, in my area, I live in a small town, and so a lot of people just kind of know, oh, there's the bearded guy. They don't know maybe by my name. Oh, there's the bearded guy that he's always doing the weird things in the cold. Yes. Okay. Well, he's probably on drugs, right? He's on, so anyway. So, hey, let's take a look at some questions. Looks like there were some questions. before I even logged in. The best, what breathwork is best for cardio? Okay, so breathwork for cardio, it's kind of hard. I would need to know. It depends if you're talking about like your cardiovascular health, or if you're talking about doing like preparing for cardiovascular workouts. 12 connection, if you wouldn't mind just elaborating a little bit on that, I'd appreciate it. I'll go ahead and answer now, but maybe if this isn't the question, I'll answer. The question I'll answer is, how is it best to breathe while you're doing cardiovascular exercise? So, and this is what I was doing all day today. It's just in through your nose, or in through your nose, out through your nose, in through your nose, out through your mouth. You want to try to stay nasal as long as you can. This is primarily if you're looking for improving your CO2 tolerance, if you're looking for just overall endurance, if you're looking for better blood flow. You just don't want to deplete your body of CO2 overly fast. You want to keep that in balance because of a thing we call the Bohr effect. And that is something I discuss in a very simplified way. People get way too, well, I don't know if they're, I don't want to say they get too nerdy about it, because I like to nerd out. But I think sometimes whenever people tell you things and we talk about breath work, I think sometimes it's just an information overload. And so in my book, I discuss why a healthy CO2 tolerance is good, why CO2 is not bad, and why nasal breathing while doing cardiovascular exercise is a good thing. Mikey, what are the biggest benefits you feel from Wim Hof style? Okay, so Wim Hof style breathing, and okay, so the breathing and the cold. So the Wim Hof method specifically. So Wim Hof method, some of the biggest benefits for me, I will say this: the Wim Hof method that was my foundation, and it's still my foundation of my day. So I wake up and I still after all these years, I still look forward to doing breath work. I don't just do Wim Hof method breath work anymore. I also add other things. One of the things I add is Bastrika every morning to open my sinuses and just basically wake up my system before I get into my Wim Hof method style breath work. But I do that, and then of course my cold exposure, and so that combination, I would say just overall, I feel more energy. I feel really happy and healthy and good. And so it's so hard now because I do so much more. So it's not like I just eat the standard American diet. So standard American diet, the abbreviation for that is SAD, right? It's SAD. I don't just eat the standard American diet and then just do nothing but Wim Hof method. So I started with Wim Hof method after I was doing weight training. I love weight training. And I love, I guess I've been doing weight training and exercise. I did a lot of HIIT, and then I got into meditation, and then I found out I was terrible at meditation. And then I started getting into breath work, but pretty much immediately before I learned much about other styles of breath work, I went into Wim Hof method. So that's what opened me up into all this other stuff, all these other kinds of breathing techniques. I also got into yoga for a while. I don't really do yoga anymore. And I miss yoga. And here's the thing for yoga for me. For me, I have to go to a yoga class. I have to do it in person, or I'm just not going to do it. Like all these videos and things. I know my wife likes to do the video yoga and stuff like that. Not me. I have to, for some reason, I love it if I can go and be social. Maybe it's my ego. I want to look and see how I'm doing compared to the instructor. And I kind of want to I'm a social guy. COVID is hard on me because I'm such a social person. So I can't go to these yoga places anymore and do real classes. And so I haven't done yoga in a long time, but I do a lot of mobility routines. I do a lot of weight training. I try to keep it fresh. So those are the things. I know I kind of got off topic there, but hey, we're having fun. It's Friday. The weekend is upon us. Let's see. How many cold baths and breathing do you have to do to activate the body's strong immune system? I kind of covered that already. There's a lot of misconceptions on this. It's not a magic. There's no magic to it. It feels like magic, but it's something that is within us all, and it's a capacity that we all have. So you can do these things without feeling like I have to do a certain number of this and say, it's like I have to say the magic words 3 times. It's not like that. It's not like that, and it's going to be individual to you. Alex, hey, what's up? James, hey, Jesse, hey, how's it going, James? Let's see, Mikey. Also, how do we join the breathing sessions that you do online? Okay, so Mikey, thanks for asking. So my Patreon club, and hello to my Patreon members, and I really want to thank you guys. My Patreon members, they've got a ton of requests this for November. And so if you want to join my Patreon club, you go to patreon.com /Midwestern Method. There's going to be a link in the description box for this. It may be there right now. I don't know because I can't see it right now. Yeah, I can't see it. But you can go there, and basically for as low, it's super low right now. And all the tiers are just, hey, thanks, man. I just really appreciate it. You help make this what we're doing right now. You make that happen. It's something where I am glad that I was this close to becoming just a full-time breath worker, Wim Hof method instructor, personal trainer, all these things. And I wasn't quite ready to do it because I also love being an English professor. And when COVID hit, I was very glad that I'm still an English professor because I have a day job to fall back on. It's been my business has diminished enormous amounts because it's a face-to-face workshop type of a business. And so now I can't travel and do all these workshops. And so my Patreon club is really helpful, and it's growing, and it's full of really cool people. So we've kind of gotten to know each other. We kind of talk about our struggles with each other. It's really a cool tribe. It's really a cool tribe. And so if you want to join that, it's like the minimum bid is, for the minimum tier is $5. And that's it, $5 a month. And I always do, usually I try to make sure to do at least 3 new guided breathwork sessions. I'm debating, now that it's going to start getting into the winter months, and it looks like here in the United States, at least, we're going to have a lot of issues with COVID and all this stuff. I want to do everything I can to help my people keep from having depression, and I want to try to give some treats. So I'm coming up with some treats from my Patreon members. And also I'm going to, like I said, I've got stuff I'm going to try to do on the channel too, to keep us all happy and help with morale, because we got to stick together, guys. And we have to stay positive. So that is how to join. You just click on the link below, or go to patreon.com /Midwestern Method. Let's see here. Okay. Where else? What else we got going on here? So Angel De La Torre, let's take a look at your question here. Hopefully you're still here, my friend. Hey, Jesse, what are your thoughts on other breath work, such as Buteyko breathing, pranayama, and others? Do you incorporate anything else other than Wim Hof? Of course, yeah. And by the way, love your vids. Keep at it. Hey, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. So Angel, yeah, I recently released a book called A Practical Guide to Breathwork, and it is about basically all of the other kinds of breathwork that I teach and use in my workshops, in my breathwork classes with my clients, when I train athletes and things like that. So yeah, I'm all about it. Buteyko is fantastic. I use certain forms of pranayama. There's a lot of different kinds of breath work that I've studied a lot of different kinds, and I'm still always finding out new things. But I practice Wim Hof method, but there's still the rest of the day, right? And I still want to keep my autonomic nervous system in check. And there's all kinds of breathing techniques that I do all throughout the day. And most of them do come from pranayama, or they're things that I've just invented, or that I've learned from other breath workers or things like that. So you're breathing all day, Wim Hof method is fantastic, and it's definitely a foundational part of my day. But yeah, man, I mean, why stop there whenever there's so much out there? So yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that question, Angel. Let's see here. So Mad Music. Hi, after going OMAD, I noticed a decreased ability to warm myself up after cold exposure. Have you experienced something similar? Yes. So with OMAD, there is a time, and I explained this in one of my videos about combining cold exposure and fasting. So take a look at that on my channel. You want to search that, how to combine breathwork how to combine cold exposure and fasting, or intermittent fasting, or something like that. There are times whenever, actually, because it depends on where you are in your fast. That's something kind of important that I've found. And there are certain times whenever you get to the point where you're actually in this fat burning state, and I don't really remember all of the details, but part of your body is like it's borrowing something. I can't remember exactly. I don't want to even try to explain it because I'll explain it poorly. But basically, what's happening is there's times whenever your body is burning fat, and you will get the sensation of being colder, but your body temperature actually isn't that much colder. But yeah, fasting can make cold exposures more difficult. And I know there's some weirdos out there that are like, no, it doesn't. It does for a lot of us, and it does for me. And so I recommend, if you're doing OMAD, to do your cold, try to experiment with different times of day. It'll depend a little bit. If you think about your circadian rhythm, if you think about how that cycle works, try to say, okay, did I do it in the morning? Okay, afternoon. Maybe it's something that you want to do right before you eat. I wouldn't do an extreme cold exposure right before eating. Ideally, my best advice to you is to do your cold exposure about 2 hours after your meal. If you're doing OMAD, that's typically whenever you're still in your strength. So not right after you eat, but maybe a couple hours, maybe 3 hours after you eat. That's generally you're going to see your best results, at least from my own personal experience. And hey, Mad Music, you're the best. Thank you. Remember to leave a thumbs up on the video. I really do appreciate that. That does help this channel a lot. Let's see here. And Alex, I love being with you too, man. Thanks. Let's see. I live right by the forest, and fall definitely set in the Midwest, and the sun is blazing at 45 degrees cold. I love it. I love it. Let's see here. All right. Let's see. What effect do pins in your leg have on cold water? Hey, thank you. You emailed me about this, Jay. Thank you for this. So the question is cold water immersion for people who have artificial parts, right? So maybe you have a hip. I've trained one woman who had an artificial hip. So it was steel, or it was like a titanium hip. Sometimes pins in your bones. There's some kind of a surgery or something like that where you have metal in you, right? Where there used to be bone, there is now metal. And this can actually impair your ability to rewarm. So it can make it so that it takes longer to rewarm, especially in that area, because you're not getting as much circulation there. And so there's a few different remedies for that. But the first and most important one is go slow, test it out. Go slow, test it out. Go slow, test it out. That is, if there's like a chorus that I'd like to repeat when it comes to just cold exposure in general, is to go slow and test it out. Go slow, test it out. But here's some basic things that advice that I'll give you. Hang on just a second. Cheers. Happy Halloween. This is blood. That's what it is. This is blood. See, I didn't dress up for Halloween. This year, I should have. I went as Dog the Bounty Hunter one year. What do you think about that, man? That was like my favorite Halloween was Dog the Bounty Hunter. Anyway, back to your question. So yeah, you're going to have it'll be a little harder to rewarm in that specific area. It generally, for most people I've ever talked to and trained, they've not really had any problems everywhere else, but they can just feel kind of really cold in that spot. So depending on where this is in your body, one of the remedies is to keep it out of the cold. Just don't worry about exposing that part. Jay, where is it in your knee? Is it in your arm? Is it in something that you could probably hold it out of the cold shower or the water immersion? Let me know if you're still watching. Hopefully you're still here, my friend. But that is one piece of advice that I give. So if you have pins in your knees or something like that from a surgery or from an injury, it's totally fine. You're not cheating by holding that out of the water and just getting the rest of your body in there. So it's an ankle. And okay, hey, all right. So you're going to look like you're showing off a little leg, right? Well, and I would so play into this. Just kick that leg out and say, hey, what do you think about this, everybody? Point the toes. But it would be no problem at all. Just hold that leg out and then enjoy the rest of your cold exposure. I know it might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but that's what I would recommend. If after trying and experimenting with that ankle in there, if you experience difficulties later, the issue, especially with the ankle, and this is the thing that I would really be thinking about for just if I were training you individually, is that when you get out of the cold, I want you to be very mobile. I want you to be able to walk, and I don't want there to be any kind of issue with because whenever you get out of a ice bath, you can already feel your joints sometimes are a little stiff because you've had a really fast vasoconstriction. So a lot of that blood it goes to your core to try to protect your core. And so, and this happens with feet, ankles, those areas. Sometimes it can take a little while before, just even if you don't have, even if it's all cartilage and bone like you were born with, it can take a little while for that to warm back up. Well, what I would say to do is think about this. Think about also, if I stand up, if I'm walking around, I don't want that ankle staying really cold. I don't want to take a whole long time for that ankle to be usable again. So I would say, hey, kick that part of your body out of there and just don't worry about it. And then the cold showers, the thing about a cold shower, it wouldn't even, if you've been taking cold showers, I doubt it's been an issue at all, because the vast majority of the cold shower, by the time the water gets down to your ankles and fibula, you're going to have, it's pretty much warmed up anyway. So when we're talking about cold, like super cold exposures, that's it. Now you're going to notice a difference whenever you're in the air, like if you're doing snow walking and things like that. Don't count yourself out, my friend. Okay, so don't count yourself out, because the vast majority of the cold is not going to be quite as impactful as whenever you're in the ice. So I test it out and check back with us. We want to know how things are working for you. So I hope that helps. Let's see. I've been doing the cold air exposure and not cold water exposure. Fantastic. Yeah. And if you're in the northern hemisphere, it's going to get colder and colder and colder. Adapt. And really, the cold air exposures probably won't cause you the issue that a cold water exposure would with those pins. So maybe you're just a nice man. You're the guy that everybody sees. Maybe not in your underwear like me, but maybe you're the guy that everybody sees, and you'll be the guy in your town that everybody talks about. Oh yeah, he's the guy who goes walking around in the cold. Let's see here. I'm going to get to some of these older questions. So there was some discussion here. Let's see here. So it looks like there was some discussion here. Looks like some good discussion. I don't need to comment on that. Okay. And so cold hands. What if I have cold hands from cold showers long after? Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So if your extremities are cold after your cold shower, just warm them up. Yeah, you heard me say it. Your extremities. Here's the thing. The point is not to be miserable. The point is to get a good cold exposure and recover from it. And then after that, you can just warm up your hands however you want to. Put them in the hot water, or wear gloves, whatever you need to do to get them back to normal. So don't worry about that. Let's see. David, I will see you on the 11th. Hey guys, just a quick thing. Yeah, on the 11th of November, I am doing a Wim Hof Method basic breathing workshop. I'm also going to be doing some other workshops about other breathing techniques that I teach. So if you've bought either one of my books, you're going to get 20% off. If you go to either one of my books, you go to the end of the book, there's a code, and you can use that code on tickets to any of these events. I'm going to be all winter long. I'm going to do a bunch of virtual workshops. So I'm going to do one. I'm going to do some on athletic style breathing to help you with your CO2 tolerance. I'm going to do a workshop on some different forms of hypoxic training. I'm going to do some workshops on. I'm thinking about doing a workshop on how to teach your kids breath work. I'm going to actually, I've got a video I'm about to release for my weekly video. Hopefully I get it done today about that as well. But to really get into the deep stuff, I want to have a workshop to kind of answer questions and go over stuff like that with you. So I've got a bunch of workshops I'm going to be coming out with. So stay tuned to this channel. Let's see. Hey, let's see. We got Karsten. So hey, brother, much love from Portugal. Would love to have you on my podcast. Loved your 30-minute breathing video. Hey, I'd love to be on your podcast too. So just reach out to me, go to my website, midwesternmethod.com, and maybe we could set something up. Let's see here. Jan is hey, from Romania. Hey, I'm glad to see you here, Jan. Let's see, David. What is the best way to get people to try Wim Hof method? Oh my God. Yeah. Let's see. It's been really helpful to me, and I want to share, but I don't want to come off like a pyramid scheme. Well, okay, the pyramid scheme, and the stuff is out of most people's element. Yeah, that's the thing. I've been doing this for ages now, and I find the same thing. Wim Hof method is something that I always recommend to people. First of all, there's a quote. I don't know if you've heard this quote. Carl Sagan says, "When you're in love, you want to tell the world." Right? And this is so true. Whenever you find something that you love, you just can't believe anybody's not doing it. Right? And so the worst thing I think we can do is come across as like the evangelists. So I wrote a blog about this, and back whenever I had my old website, and sadly enough, that blog no longer exists. But I had a full blog about this topic, and it was basically you don't want to go around and make it just annoy people. You don't want to just annoy the hell out of everybody and say, "Have you heard of my Lord and Savior Wim Hof?" Nothing like that. Here's what you do. And this is in my own experience for just about everything that I've ever been able to helpfully influence others. And I believe this is not just for Wim Hof method. This is not just for breath work, but this is literally, you name it, whether it's a particular social cause or what, maybe it's a favorite brand of ice cream. Your best sell, your best, promotion for anything that you want to do is you, right? You go live the life that you want to live and really become the best you that you can possibly be. And what you're going to see is this. And just like Carson says, you walk the talk. Yeah, exactly. So what you do is you become someone who said, people are like, okay, what do you have? What are you on, man? What is it that you're doing? How can I smile, and how can I be in control of my emotions like you are? How is it that it seems like you've got everything going on? And in reality, I don't have everything going on. I'm a mess, right? But yeah, I've found things that can help me, and I want to share those because if it can help a mess like me, well, maybe it can help somebody else, right? But the cool thing is, by helping yourself, you're helping everybody else. By creating the best version of you, you're saying it's like the ultimate testimonial. It's like, in these infomercials and all these things. They always have testimonials, right? Well, I took Ultra Slim fast and I lost so many pounds. Well, the thing is, you're a testimonial every time you're around your loved ones, every time you're around all these people. And I will say from my own personal experience, because I was a little bit of the evangelist early on, I was trying to sell the magic a little too much. I will say this, that the best thing that I did is I just backed off and I lived my life. And I know it's hard. I know how hard it is, because you just want to say, why won't you do this? But it's the same thing with everything. If you want to help people, here in the United States, we got this voting thing. If you want people to vote your way, be the best type of person and just be an example of your political side. If you want people to eat a certain way, be the best example of how a person is when they eat that way. If you want to encourage people to get into exercise, show people why it's a good thing. What are the benefits of it? And you don't. There's an old thing when I was in kindergarten, and I don't know if they still do it, but there was a thing we called show and tell. And in writing, whenever I teach writing at the university, I always talk about it's more powerful to show someone than to tell someone. And eventually, what's going to happen is you're going to find people will say, okay, why are you smiling all the time? Or why is it that this doesn't seem to bother you? Or they'll just come up to you and say, okay, what's this Wim Hof method thing? In your case, that's what you're trying to get people to. What's this Wim Hof method thing? I've seen a few pictures on your Instagram. I noticed that, you're doing this. What's it all about? And don't be offended if they try it and say, no, it's not for me. I'm married to someone who tried it and said it's not for me. What? Right? Everybody's like, well, how is it that your wife doesn't practice Wim Hof method? It just wasn't for her. And that's okay. But you know what? Ultra marathoning is not for me. I tried ultra marathoning because I was like, hey, my wife's into it. Maybe it's a thing we can do as a couple. I tore my meniscus. It's not for me. So just focus on yourself, and in a way, and I'm not saying be selfish, right? But focus on improving who you are. And like Carson said, walk the talk, or walk the walk, and just really be the best you that you can possibly be. And before you know it, people that are around you'd be surprised just how influential you are with people who know you and love you. So that is my best advice. And after all these years of trying to get hey, I've tried to get I get excited about all this stuff. And there's many of my friends and relatives who have still not read either one of my books. They've never come to a workshop, and they never will. And I just have to realize it's not about me. I might think it's the best thing in the world, but I can't force them into it. So I'm just going to be the best me I can be, and I'm going to help as much as I possibly can. Oh no, Peter Yurt is on here. Peter, I hope you're still here. Let's see here. I just noticed I was scrolling back up. I know I'm missing some people's questions, but me and Pete, let's see. So how did your beard grow back so fast? This cold exposure helped. Thank you for asking, Peter. I think it's clear that I'm on performance enhancing drugs for my beard. I'm just going to come clean. I have been doping. Yeah, dude, some people are born and they're gifted at music. Peter Yurt, by the way, he's a fellow Wim Hof method instructor who is also a rock star. And I don't remember, Peter, I got to meet, so actually I met your brother. They're in a band called Hell Bros, if I do recall correctly. I have one of your albums. Oh, hell yeah, you're still here. All right. So I'm going to talk about your rock, man. And actually, a friend of mine just reached out to me. He's like, hey, I didn't know you were in a rock band. In my book, for those of you who have read the book, if you haven't read the book, I'm just going to guilt trip you right now for not knowing this about me. I was in rock bands for most of my early years, I would say from the age 15 to 25, maybe 26, I was in rock bands. I've been playing guitar more. I've been really playing a lot more guitar lately. So I'm thinking about breaking it out sometime soon. So, but yeah. So Peter Yurt, I met his brother via the Wim Hof Method Facebook page back whenever hardly anybody was on that page. And he sent me one of you guys' albums, and it was really good. And so yeah. And of course, I've been on his podcast. Peter, drop the name of your podcast here, man. Let's do some shameless promotion, and let's see if we can blow this thing up. But yeah, when it comes to my beard, I guess I'm just gifted. I don't know. Think about this. There's a lot of hair here. I mean, this beard, I've got to do some trimming because the mustache sort of gets in the way. Today is a very special day because I'm going to eat pizza. I'm going to eat pizza today. So it's a very special day for me. Me and my little boy, I'm going to pick him up. We're going to have some Halloween pizza, and I get it in my beard sometimes. And so I've got to kind of do something about it. It is trim season. I've got to get, what happened was for most of my life, one of the things about facial hair and men, right? And guys, ladies, all of us, right? A lot of what we do with the hairs that grow out of our head is based off of your own personal style, but you don't want to repel the whoever it is you're attracted to. And so I always dated girls that never wanted me to have facial hair. Then I met the one and she loves it. I'm like, there it is. There it is. How much more evidence did I need? And so, but she said, we got married, and I didn't have a beard for quite a few years. And then it was one of those no shave Novembers that just never ended. And so she was like, okay, it's cool if you want to have this beard. I think it's sexy. I'm like, of course it's sexy. Sexy beard, right? But yeah, I love this kid. Yeah, work on your elevator pitch. But okay, but anyway, but with going back to the beard though, we're talking about beards now. So this is the beard part of the episode. But the thing is, she's like, okay, if you're going to have a long beard, you need to have it professionally manicured, because I was pretty bad at it. I was trying to do it myself. So I actually have a girl who does my hair. And what I found about barbers and hairstylists is that the more tattoos and piercings that they have, the better they are for my beard. I went from no tattoos and piercings in my stylist to this one who had some tattoos and to more tattoos and piercings. And then the stylist that I go to now, practically head to toe. And I'm like, yeah, I'm always so happy when I leave. But yeah, so I have it professionally done. So yeah, but I do need to do some trimming. Even though I have it professionally done, I only see her once every 6 weeks. So I need to, the mustache is starting to creep down into it. All right. So The Good Time Machine, check it out. That's Peter Yurt's podcast. Let's see. I'm going to go back up here just a little bit, and let's see here. So Carson asks a question. I see a question mark. I haven't read it yet. So you still get the benefits from the cold exposure, even if you warm yourself after, right? Is there a difference between just warming up or warm shower? So this is one of those things you want to be careful about. And I covered in my ebook, links below. But whenever you warm yourself up after a cold exposure, you can actually give yourself hypothermia or severe afterdrop. So you want to be careful how you do it. That's probably the most crucial skill to learn. There's a lot of skills that are crucial, but one of the most crucial skills to learn when it comes to cold exposure is how to rewarm yourself, because the natural inclination is I want to go to the warmest place possible, and I want to hop in a hot tub, or I want to go to the sauna. And this can be really a bad idea. And I have been with people in a sauna, training them, and I don't know if I'm going to. I'll sort of tell you this story, but I've trained people who, for one reason or another, they spent a lot of time in the cold, and then they went into a sauna, and I was in there with them. I had not done the cold with them, and I had to coach them through after drop, and it was crazy because we were in this incredibly hot room, and everybody was like, "Oh!" And what happens is your skin, all this circulation on your skin, it opens up, and all this cold blood, this cooled blood, goes to your core, and it lowers your temperature, your core body temperature, and it's miserable. So be careful. What I was talking about earlier when I was answering the question earlier is, after you've done a proper warming, you've allowed your body to do the work. If you're still chilly throughout the rest of the day, then don't worry about, go ahead and take a hot shower, but give yourself some time for your body to naturally warm it. That is the thing where I'm like, please read my book. The book covers all the different steps on how to do the warming, self-warming, before you would ever go into like a super heated situation. Aaron P. Oh, Aaron P. Are you still here? I just saw that you asked a question. Aaron, please tell me you're here. I'm just going to chill for a minute. Oh, I don't know if he's still here. I'm still going to answer his question. Aaron P. is the wizard. Hey, there he is. Okay, so Aaron P. is the wizard. If you go to my page and you see on my landing page the commercial that I did for my book, Aaron P. was the guy who put that together for me, and he did a fantastic job. Every picture of me that is good, if you see a picture of me and it's like, oh, that's a pretty good picture of Jesse, he probably took it. If it's a picture of me that looks to terrible, I probably took it, or anybody else in the world took it. But if it's like, oh wow, that's a good picture, it's probably Aaron P. He came to one of my workshops when I first met Aaron P. He came to a workshop and he's like, yeah, I'm a photographer. He signed up last minute. I didn't even know he was coming. And I was like, I was not expecting another person to show up to this workshop. He's like, yeah, I signed up last minute. I'm like, okay, cool. And he took a picture of me that day, and it's a picture that I still use on pretty much everything. It's on my book. Aaron P. Speaking of my book, I was going to print this book with just awful, with like, how did you describe it, Aaron? The font that I was going to use. It was just ridiculously bad. And like, he's like, no, dude. And so he did some work. He sent me a PDF, and that is the eventual text, the font that I used on my cover. So Aaron is just an awesome bro. Bewitched font. So his main question, now that I've gone through talking about him, Aaron's question is, what is your favorite benefit from cold water exposure? This one is one that is really hard to measure, because, and I've talked about it to my neurophysicist friend. I love the fact that there is such a thing as a neurophysicist, but I've talked about this to a lot of people, and it really comes down to this. There are enormous amounts of physical benefits that you can receive, but the number one benefit that I've received from cold water exposure is the ability to face stress. So here's the premise. I'll give you the premise. One of the things that happens whenever you enter the cold, the reason why it is a natural inclination for us to not like the cold. Okay. It's not like previous humans loved the cold and we've unlearned that love. No, it's that we've got this in the world that we're living in now, and just like back then, whenever you experience the cold, there's a part of your brain that sends out norepinephrine. and I work with people from different parts of the world. Sometimes it's called norepinephrine. In the United States, we call it noradrenaline. We like to be different, I guess. But this is something that causes us to, like, it's something that your body is trying to give you to help you get through this stressful time. But what it does is it makes you more sensitive. So it makes you more sensitive to your surroundings. And so everything is more pronounced. And so this happens whenever we're under stress, physically or psychologically. So whenever I get into an ice bath, I am training myself to deal with that big bump. I'm a really nervous, like, naturally my biology is to be very nervous and to be really anxious, full of anxiety. And so this is why I think the cold has been such a big help for me, because I started doing it mostly for like the immune system boost and the drop in inflammation, and all of those things are still very good. But the thing that it gives me, man, is it is a daily reminder of how to train with fear, train with anxiety. And so whenever I'm doing this, that chemical that makes me have anxiety, it makes us all have anxiety. I'm learning how to reframe that and to have control over it and have control over my fear response. So whenever I am, and in my book, a friend of mine, he read my book and he's like, "What do you have against Tammy?" I always say, whenever I bump into Tammy at the office and she says something that really, grinds my gears, or whenever I'm in a situation where I'm naturally going to experience fear or anxiety or nervousness, I've already trained my brain to work with that in an environment of my choice. So it allows me to do that. It also it's taught me to become a person who can make difficult decisions. So it's a difficult decision to get into the cold. Like, I've been doing it for years, and it's still like, okay, am I really going to do this? Okay, I'm going to do it. And after a while, you get better at doing it. And the thing is, you start to see yourself and you start to observe, you know what? I seem to be a person who can make difficult decisions better. And I have seen in my life that I am far better at making decisions. And I'm not the kind of person. I used to be the kind of person who would vacillate and who would wobble and who would I would never make a decision, and it was very difficult for me to make any kind of hard decisions or anything like that. But I now am able to really face these decisions and make those decisions, I think, with far better clarity than ever before. And then another thing, I'll give you another thing. I have discovered that I really believe that it is the cold that alleviates my allergies. That specifically, I really do think, because I notice that whenever I'll be doing all sorts of breath work every single day. I never miss that because it really feels great. And it's not for some people, they don't like the breath work, they like the cold. For me, the cold has always been the challenge. But if I miss out on the cold for any extended period of time, I start noticing. And one of the first things I start to notice is my sinuses have problems. I have problems with my allergies. They start coming back. But if I get back into that regular cold exposure routine, that all goes away. And it's so crazy. For some reason, I'm feeling a little bit of sinus right now. If I hop in my ice tub, it just clears up. It's just magical. It's not magic. There's no magic to it. It's literally, that's another benefit of norepinephrine. There's these different sides to that neurochemical. Okay, so I'm seeing, let's see, got a cool conversation going. That's cool. And this is the thing. We're having a great Friday, guys. It's Halloween Friday. I'm going to eat pizza later today, so I'm already in a great mood. I really am. Cheat meals are hard for me. I love to do cheat meals. Everybody's got their vice. And so I've really been trying to be good with my diet. And so tonight I'm going to treat my son, treat myself. Okay, got a conversation going on here. Let's see. I'm going to go back up a little bit and see here. Yeah, Jay, keep working on that elevator pitch. so I can more easily answer people when they ask what cold walks are and how and why I do them. The big thing is simple. Just keep it simple. Whenever you are in love with something that's strange for most people, and let's face it, just about everything about cold exposure is strange for most people. When you're in love with something like that, don't bombard them with details. Just give them some simple stuff. And then if they're not weirded out, like try to tell them something that's not going to weird them out. First of all, don't say something mystical and they're like, oh my God, he's joined a cult. Tell them something that's like, cold training, it reduces inflammation and it's great for your immune system. So it really makes me feel good. Done. Don't go on and on. It's when people go on and on that you lose them. So start there. And then if they're interested, they'll ask you. If they're not interested, let them go about their lives and wish them well. Be kind to them every time you see them because they're a fellow human being on this planet. We're all related. We're all on this chunk of rock floating in the infinite bounds of space. So, they don't have to follow the same practices that you follow, but just always be kind. Let's see here. If I skipped anybody, I apologize. We're getting close. Man, today we're going long. We're going long today. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can make it to a few more. Does the Wim Hof method prepare us to adapt to heat as well as cold? In a way, you could say that it does, but not really. It's mostly you're going to adapt to the cold. If you want to adapt to the heat, go train in a sauna and do some regular heat exposures. One thing that I will say, though, is that I've noticed that I'm more comfortable regardless of the temperature. And I primarily do cold exposures. I do, up until this year, I would do heat and cold training. So I've always enjoyed doing a steam room. I have a steam room at the gym that I go to. So I would do cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And sometimes I'd spend a whole hour or so just going back and forth. So but I will say that even just being a cold trainer, you're just more, I feel, and this may just be something that's just me, but for me, I feel kind of more comfortable just all the time, just in general. Hey, Tor Ivar Johannesson, I've been playing guitar in rock bands for 15 years, stoner rock, kind of like Kiss, Fu Manchu. I like Fu Manchu. I like stoner rock. What is Baroness is one of my favorite bands. I don't know. Has anybody heard of Baroness? I started listening to Baroness a long time ago, and there's an album Baroness put out it's just the Red album by Baroness. When I wrote my book, and I started listening to them in grad school about 10 or 11 years ago, and that album, for some reason, I just listen to it over and over and over again whenever I write. And it's just perfect. It really helps. So let's see here. All right. So I've got to start winding this up because I've got videos I got to make. Oh, geez. Yeah, I got to make some videos. Okay. One last question. Here we go. And if I missed, first of all, Leif, I think it's Leffy or Leif, do you have online workshops? I do have an online workshop scheduled for November 11th. It's the Wim Hof Method Basic Breathing Technique. We're going to cover the breathing technique and the complete breathing technique, and then I will give you a guided breathing session. It's going to be 90 minutes, and it's $25. If you're in my Patreon club, you get $5 off. Or if you have purchased any of my books, there's a code at the end of the books that will give you 20% off of the entry into any of my online workshops that I'm going to be doing this winter. I'm going to be doing a lot of other workshops. Do you ever recommend a specific shower head model for cold showers? No, I've never had that question before, Jeffrey. Thank you for that question. I don't really have any particular recommendations, but the bigger the better. My favorite cold shower is if I feel like it's just like, if I can get a giant, shower head, it'd be better than something small where I have to kind of do the dance. Most of my life, I've had to do the dance. But if you can get a giant one, like it's just raining on top of you, that's the one to do it. Yeah, Joe knows bigger is better, especially when it comes to shower heads. So that's the one to do. Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, if you haven't joined the Patreon club, please do so. If you go to the links below, you can find out about my books and basically all sorts of cool stuff is going to be happening this winter. I'm working on a really cool, actually, Aaron, if you're still listening, I would love some help on this video that I'm working on. So if you're still listening, reach out to me because it's a very special video that I think everybody's really going to like. I just want to make sure it's, I don't know. I would like to have it. I don't know. My editing skills are not your editing skills. But anyway, guys, thanks so much. I hope you have a great weekend. And thanks so much for hanging out with me. If you have any other questions, feel free. If I missed your question, I'm so sorry. Please come back next week and I'll make sure to do some questions at that point too. And I hope to see you guys next week. Happy Halloween. Thank you. Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for everything. Happy Halloween. I'll see you then.